Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone, and welcome back to Mucky Hope Productions. I'm your host, Mucky Hope, and today we're continuing our player deep dive. We're talking about Parvati Shallow, the Black Widow, and for such a strong, powerful woman in the game of Survivor, I had to bring on one of the most strongest, most powerful women to ever play Australian Survivor, all the way from across the ditch. Ladies and gents, please welcome the amazing Caroline. How's it going, Caroline?
Good, Mucky. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course, and I'm doing phenomenal, especially because you're here. Because if you weren't here,
Thank you.
it'd just be a normal average show kind of day, and that's pretty sad.
No, I'm pretty excited to talk about Parvati. This is, I think, a huge coup for Australia versus the world to get. I mean, it's a sensational, obviously, tribe that they've got, but yeah, to go through all her attributes and even the tribe's attributes, this is going to be so much fun and so much to get through. But there's lots to talk about with Parv. She's a perennial favorite, isn't she?
Yeah, no, she's been like a massive name in the Survivor community for as long as I can remember. You know, I started watching 2016/2017 is when I first started watching Survivor, and I knew who Parvati was.
Yeah.
Like through Game Changers. I think my order was Game Changers, Caroline, and then Heroes vs. Villains. Pretty sure that's
Micronesia. Cook Islands, Micronesia. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'll say how I first got into American Survivor.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I know. August. Yeah. And I'd heard of Parvati and like the massive player she was. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see her evolution. And what an evolution, right? From who she was in Cook Islands all the way through to Winners at War. Such a massive inspiration to so many like women, but also Survivor players as well.
Yeah. And we kind of saw her grow up too, didn't we? Like she was this 22-year-old, 23-year-old in her first season. And then by the time she plays Winners at War, she's like in her late 30s. She's married. She's a mum. She's in a completely different stage of her life. But nonetheless, she still played the Parv game. You know, her social play is second to none. And we can all take a leaf out of her book when we're out there playing. That's for sure.
Yeah. And a comment here from Jenny. All nice woman bed watching this. Oh, that sounds pretty cozy there, Jenny. More excited for this than 50. Honestly.
Me too.
And Mucky, you started watching 2016, so what? You're like 3 years. Now, how old was I? I was, there would have been third year of high school for me. I would have been like 15.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, you're a baby.
I was a baby. Yeah.
We're a baby.
You help deliver babies, you know?
I do. I have thousands. Yeah.
Imagine if I was born in Australia and you were the one who helped deliver me. That would have been crazy.
How old would what year were you born?
2001.
Oh, yeah. So you're a year younger than my son, than my youngest.
Okay.
Yeah, my son is, he was born in 2000.
Okay, now what month in 2000 though?
September.
Oh, I'm a December baby.
Are you?
Yeah. You can tell I'm a cheeky sag, right? So
cheeky sag. Yeah, well, I'm a spicy scorp, so.
Oh, okay. Well, quite funnily enough, normally like I struggle to connect with Scorpios, but like
really?
I connect with you really well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, it's funny. One of my old supervisors at my old jobs was a Scorpio, and I was trying so hard to like impress her because I was like, nah, I want to do a good job. Yeah. Nothing. I was just stonewalled and stuff. Turns out she was just taking the piss with me the entire time. She thought I was great.
No, we do have a very deep softness inside us, and we're very, very, very loyal. Probably the most loyal of everyone. But
yeah. Well, speaking of loyal, I guess let's start talking about Parvati, right? So Parvati's reunited since Micronesia. It's going to be fun to watch. Well, that's sort of where things started off with Parvati, right? She came into Cook Islands, wasn't really a huge play or name back then, right? And she came onto Micronesia, and Micronesia made Parvati, right? You know,
Absolutely.
She made the first all-girls alliance, you know, the Black Widow Brigade.
Yeah.
And that has cursed Survivor for the history of time. Anytime
Absolutely.
the strategic female who's like kind of pretty. Oh my gosh, the next coming of Parvati, got to take her out now.
Yeah.
You know, every time there's an all-girls alliance, the witch's coven. Season is like it never works out well. Parvati just made the perfect formula and it's sort of a one-night gig.
Yeah.
And then she comes on to Heroes vs. Villains as a massive player, massive target. Was going to be the first boot in that, but obviously ends up becoming Randy. She aligns herself with Russell, and they pretty much just steamroll the entire season all the way to the very end.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most controversial finish as well. Did Sandra deserve to win, or did Parvati deserve to win? Like, what's sort of mindset on that?
I think, well, from a fan perspective and watching the game, I think that Sandra deserved to win. But look, Mucky, it's so hard, isn't it? Because she did play a great game. The only thing I think people find it hard, and obviously they found it hard out there, was her alliance with Russell. I think obviously was her downfall, and people couldn't get past that. And you know, is part of her, like her best play is her social game. Was that the best social game for that particular strategy, for that particular show? I don't know. I like, you know, whoever deserves to win, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And then almost 10 years later, she comes back as pretty much an entirely changed person. You know, when she's like missing her daughter out there, and she unfortunately,
the daughter was a baby. Yeah, she was.
I know,
you know, 12 months old or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and she gets swap screwed and that. But when you think it's the end of Parvati, she comes back in Traders. It's once again another changed woman as well. I believe she's gay now, right?
Yeah. Well, she's not with a male. It's fantastic. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really cool. She's like sort of found herself and who she really is.
She's found somebody that, I think she's, from what I observe as a complete outsider, I think she's found somebody that really gets her and she gets them and they're happy, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. As long as you're happy, who cares, right?
Love is love, baby.
Yeah. Love is love, especially if it's me and Shinbadi, right? She may not know it just yet, but we're always like that. Oh, Shinbadi. She's basically a Star Wars character, and I got to meet her last year. So yeah, and
I have no idea.
Yeah, cheeky comment. Who's older, Mucky or Parvati's kid? And then she recently comes on to Dondi, where we'll be talking about this alliance quite a bit, I assume, when she meets up with David.
Yeah.
And once again, they do really, really well on that show.
They become mum and dad. They're mum and dad.
I know. Yeah. Maybe they're my mum and dad, you know, because I'm just a freshman. So.
You wish that David and Parv were your mum and dad.
Well, I feel like I haven't got the hair like David. It's not as sexy, but it's a similar color. And Caroline learning the odd Mucky. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's sort of. So
did you watch Traders and Dondi?
Yes, I did watch Traders and Dondi.
Yeah, me too. I loved it. I mean, obviously, such different shows, but Traders would have to be one of my faves to watch. That was, I mean, the first season was so good, though, with Sari. It was really, really, really great. But yeah, Parv did great, and she used her charm as she does. And is she going to do it in Australia versus the world? You freaking bet your ass she is. Yeah.
100%. I feel like Australia versus the world is like the, I know Tony said the Super Bowl was winners at war, but this is like the Olympics.
I reckon.
The Olympics, the Super Bowl, like, I don't know what else to call it. It is like a World Cup of Survivor. And if you had to get like one female to represent American Survivor, Parvati is 100% the one to pick, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's got, because not only does she have this, like the social skills, but she's got the physical skills, and we know that Australian Survivor is usually a little bit more physical than the other survivors. But yeah, she's super fit, super strong. She does yoga every day.
Yeah.
She's a yoga teacher now as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think, and she used to do kickboxing. Was it kickboxing or boxing?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, she did boxing. I'm sure it was boxing. Yeah, so she's always been super fit and super strong, which, you know, is something that you definitely need to be strong out there.
Yeah. And also she's coming in with one of her closest allies and I assume closest friends of all time in Sari as well. As Jenny brought up, they haven't played together since Micronesia. Do you reckon that if they can, they will go all the way to the end together?
I think, like, when I was kind of thinking about what we were going to talk about today, and I wrote down potential alliances, and I mean, yeah, you can't help but think that on the World Tribe that Sari and Parvati are going to, that they will 100% make an alliance. Who they're going to do it with, that's up for discussion. But I reckon that's what, you know, they've got to get a building block of 4, don't they? So I feel like Sari will be her number 1 and she'll be Sari's number 1, and they'll just take it as far as they can. They both know that if Sari takes Parv to the end, I mean, they both, I'm sure they're both thinking, if I take you to the end, you're going to win in both cases. So I think they might make a final 3 or a final 4 deal, but are they making a final 2 deal? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, there's so many different final 2 combinations I'd love to see. Like Parvati and Sari is one of them. I've always loved the idea of bringing the best of the best to the end. It might not be the best strategy to win, but it's just something so like epic and cool to kind of think about. So I'd love to see Parvati, Sari at the very end, like Luke and David at the very end, even like who is it, like a Tony and a George, something like that. You know, I mean, like obviously it's never going to happen, but
never going to happen. Yeah. And I think these women, like when you look at these women that are going out there, they're all strong, intelligent, strategic, you know, no bullshit women. So they're not stupid. They'll wind those men around their little fingers, and they'll be spinning webs all around them throughout these episodes. It's going to be so fun to see. I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to see. Post merge is obviously going to be the most interesting when the 2 tribes combine and we see what other alliances are going to form. But I think on that, the World Tribe, that her and Sari will start off number 1s with each other, and then it'll be a matter of who they, because can you see them teaming up with Tony?
I can't see that, but that's something I did want to bring up. So on both tribes, you have 4 women and 3 men. I know, but Lisa, on this tribe,
and you've got 4 winners and 2 runners up on the World Tribe. So you've got some pretty fucking hard hitters out there. Like
100%.
Like they're awesome. But I back to the point, can we see them playing with Tony? I think that you'd have to think that he would have to be one of their first boots, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I can see a scenario where, because it really depends what sort of happens, right? Because Tony's obviously a massive shield. You know, I feel like all the American players are going to be huge shields for some of the other players, like Tommy and Cassandra. No one really knows anything about them. I don't really assume people would know much about Lisa. Maybe Rob, because I know he's been looked at as like the greatest winner of South Africa, you know, for like the longest time. So I can see them maybe trying to keep Tony around at least for a little bit to kind of like almost throw him to the wolves kind of thing a bit later on, if that sort of makes sense. So you kind of maybe take out a bit of the lesser. So when
do we think they'll merge? At what number do we think they'll merge?
I low-key think 7 or 8. Because you would obviously want to keep the theme Australian world going on for so long. You get what I mean? Like maybe they'll do a swap, maybe not, but I'd assume like halfway through 7 or 8 out of 14 they might merge. That's sort of my prediction there.
Yeah. Do you think they'll do a merge before they do a swap with so few days?
Because I know that with like Celebrity Survivor, they happened in Australia like 2002 or something like that. They had 2 tribes of 6, and they
Yeah.
swapped at 10, and then they merged at 7.
Yeah, right.
So I could
Okay.
maybe see that potentially happening. But something
Yeah.
else I could see happening is an Edge of Extinction type twist
Mhm.
where you keep like all your favorites in the game, but then one of them comes back at the merge. I doubt they'll do it. If the merge
It's
is at
not an
7, it won't
Australian
come back
thing they
again.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think it's something they'd do in Australia. They just don't do that. They might do that in the US, but well, they used to, but
yeah,
I don't think it's an Australian thing. It's too complicated.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess just looking at Parvati, right? So she's got Suri, Lisa. I know she's a massive fan of like Parvati and Suri. She said on multiple different deep dives and podcasts.
Mm.
Cassandra, she's like a massive fan
Mhm.
as well. Is this a guaranteed all girls alliance, you reckon, moving forward?
I don't think so, because I reckon that a couple of the young guys they'll want to hang with Pav. They'll want to learn from
Yeah.
Pav. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm
Hmm.
sure she naturally gravitates to people that are warm and friendly and fun and all that kind of stuff. So I had her possibly teaming up with Cass,
Yeah.
Sari, and maybe Tommy and Rob.
Oh, okay. I can see that. Yeah. My only
Yeah.
sort of concern with Rob is he loves taking out the big threats,
Yeah, right.
right? And if you were to look at 2 of the biggest threats in American Survivor, Parvati is seen as the one who created the All Girl Alliance. As Gabe,
Yeah.
brings up here. She's great at manipulating people to feel safe and work with her. Her Micronesia game fans forget she did that to the female fans that season. And I kind of have a feeling that more people are going to be onto that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're going to be having more eyes on Parvati and Tony. Maybe
Mhm.
not so much Suri, which I think will be their downfall. But I
Yeah.
can definitely see a lot of eyes being on Parvati and Tony, just every little thing they do.
Mm.
They're gonna be
Mm.
like, is that them trying to play me? Or
Mm.
like is that genuine?
But the other thing with Parv is she's super loyal. So I think once she gets her crew,
Hmm.
that she'll keep them close. She'll keep them
Yeah.
super close. And that's what you want. Like that's when you get a really tight alliance, you want to keep them as close as possible for as long as possible. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know. That's then when I was trying to kind of think about, I don't know Tommy, I don't know Rob, but they're young guys. They're both going to
Yeah.
be taken in by her, but also I think she'll work her social game, her strategic game, and try
Yeah.
and bring them in.
Yeah. And I guess a couple of Australian connections to talk about. Jenny brings up here Parvati and Shawnee. I
Oh
can see a
yeah,
team
for
up. Did
sure.
you
Yeah,
did you see the podcast they did together on the Nice
yeah,
Girls Don't Win?
yeah.
Yeah, when they
Loved
were
it.
talking, I was like, oh my gosh, like, are they working together? Do they make merch? Like, they seem so like friendly, but then I
Yeah.
realized, wait, this film to like last year, they've probably had plenty of time to like catch up
Yeah,
and
but
chat
they
and stuff.
obviously have a really lovely relationship outside of the game now,
Mm,
and they're both, they're both young mums.
yeah,
They've both been through a lot.
yeah,
So I follow both of them, and I think that they've got not saying similar stories at all, but they've both been through their journeys, and I'm sure they've got a lot to share with each other out there. And in terms of being mums as
mm,
well, that's something that's going to bind them together out there as young mums.
yeah. And another connection as well is David, right?
Yeah.
We saw them together in Dondi. You even said they're literally mother and son, potentially my mother and son. Who knows? I have to do it.
Your
Wait,
mum and
my
dad.
mother, sorry, my mom and dad. Sorry, it's been a long day. Sorry, but
Good.
yeah, they're very close in
Yeah.
Dondi, right? And this film was
Yeah.
just before they went out to do this. And something that I always find so funny is that Parvati was told she was going to be the only like reality TV, like I guess, presence on Dondi. And she had
Ah.
just finished watching David's seasons just before she went out there. So she went on the boat,
Ah.
saw
So she
David,
was
like,
the
you
only one
bloody
that
won't.
knew.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, obviously they've got such a tight friendship. They're on
Yeah.
opposing tribes. Are they a force to be reckoned with? Do you reckon they're going to link up together
Well,
at all?
but are they going to make? Is David going to make merge? Like if I was out there, if
Yeah.
you were out there, wouldn't he be
Yeah.
your number one to go on the Australian tribe?
For me personally, like if I was out there, George would be my number one to go. I would
So
want.
David would be my number one to go out
Oh,
there.
okay. See,
Yeah.
this is where we're
George for
going to
you,
start
David for
rivaling,
me.
Caroline. Yeah.
Pardon?
This is how our rivalry starts. You know, we're going to be out there. It's like,
It's
no,
a
we're
good
keeping
rivalry.
David. We're keeping George. Yeah.
I'm not fighting
Yeah.
over them.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one, right? Because I feel
Yeah.
like George, like my thing with George, right, is he's always 100 steps like above
Ahead
you,
of
right?
everyone
So
else. Yeah.
exactly. So
Oh my
while you
God.
may
Yeah.
think of the idea to get rid of him, he's already plotted your demise and you've got
That's
no
right.
idea, right?
Yeah.
And as Shawnee brought up a lot throughout Heroes vs. Villains, we can just take him out another time, it'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But he already, took all of them out before they could even think to do anything with him. And so,
That's right.
whereas with David, while he's also unpredictable, I kind of feel like he wouldn't flip on you like sort of straight away. You're going, I feel like you can maybe see it. I don't know. It's a hard one. They're both very dangerous.
I think David does what he does in the moves that he makes are in his best interests, right? Whereas I think with George, the way that he manipulates people is that he makes them think that the moves are beneficial for them too. And so, and that's the way to do it, isn't it? That's the clever way to do it, is to make sure that it's benefiting other people so that they feel comfortable in that move. And George is really good at doing that. So yeah, I think from a social aspect, though, David is like Parv, just so charismatic, so beautiful to look at. So, and he'd be so much fun out there. So like I think you'd have fantastic, amazing chats out there with him. But to be taken in by his guile, I'd try and get rid of him early.
Maybe it's his abs. It's my father's abs that draw me in, so it's
to me, it's not even the abs, it's the shoulders and the chest.
Ooh, true. You can't go wrong with some cheeky shoulders, right?
Nah.
Yeah.
Really
See,
nice.
I try and do my shoulders, but not quite up to David's standards just yet. So. But
me too.
Like, oh, look at you. Was it
I've got
super
guns
gym
there.
bro? Oh, I didn't realize you're such a gym bro, Caroline.
Yeah, one thing that Titans versus Rebels taught me: get into the gym, Caroline. Like, get into the gym all the time, Caroline. So, yeah.
So for when you play next time, are you going to start taking on Jaden and some of the 1v1 wrestling challenges now?
No, that's a hard no.
Fair enough. All right, I guess just going back to Parvati.
Yes.
Are you worried that there's a minority of 3 Americans on the tribe? Do you reckon that all the non-Americans will team up to try and even out some numbers?
That's a really, really, really good question. I don't. I think that that both Sari and Parvati have much better social skills than Tony does. And I think they will work their way into their tribe at they'll have much deeper connections than Tony will. And so I think Tony it will be hard for him, because obviously being a 2-time winner, the target's on his back. It's huge. It's painted, like emblazoned. And so those girls will be just like, Tony will be an easy first boot, really, if they go to tribal. So I think that Sari and Parv will really move well into with the other tribe members and really try to forge those really deeper connections to get an alliance going. They know they have to do it right from the get-go. This is going to be a really quick, fast-paced game, so they'll know. I'm sure they'll be, before going into the game, they'll be thinking, right, we need to strike while the iron's hot and do it, day one. Alliance is done, kind of thing.
Yeah, and a comment that Gabe brings up here is that the only young guys are Rob, who's a winner already, or Tommy, who's a Tony fanboy.
See, I don't know them as well, Gabe. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So something about Rob is that he was a very controlling player, if that's what makes sense. He had like a massive
Right.
alliance, especially from Merge. Really great socially. He didn't understand the game that well, and what I think was completely genius, that he came up with a lie, because essentially it was like Island of Secrets. It was kind of like a ghost island or like an island of the idols kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he went to it and he made up a lie that he found an advantage where you could see like other players' votes, right? And a lot of the super fans were like, no way he would make it up. He doesn't really know Survivor. So no one tried to flip on him until it was like way too late into the game. And he was just like winning immunity.
Immunity after immunity. Yeah, I had read that he was really, he won like a huge amount of immunities, individual immunities.
Yeah, I think like 4 or 5, like around there. So he's a very dominant or controlling player. But one thing is that he identified threats and he just took them out straight away. He didn't wait. You know, he wasn't like, oh, maybe I'll use them as a shield. He was like, no, I'm taking them out right now. I
kind of like that. And I kind of like that play, you know, I got to say, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I'm just kind of worried that maybe he'll see all the Americans if he has done his homework.
Yeah.
And be like, I need to get rid of all of them. Right.
Yeah, like, but he needs a majority of 4 to do that. Who's his majority going to be? So, and I think, you know, like, I think Parv is the queen at this. You know, she's the queen of making these amazing alliances that stick through to the end. So,
yeah. And Rob was a cult leader. He went vibe with Parv. Well, Parv said in Donnie she could be a cult leader too.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, we got...
You can only have one leader. That's the thing. There can't be 2 cult leaders. You can only have one. Oh, this is going to be interesting, guys. Thanks for the information.
Yeah. And
I didn't realize that.
As Brendan says, Rob is the target after Tony at the start, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see that too. Especially because he's so... Like, did you see the promo, his muscles?
Yeah.
Him going up against Dale on that slide? It's like, oh, it's almost as tall as me.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I guess with Rob sort of in general as well, like everyone saw he was controlling, whereas with Parvati, something she did very well. I think Gabe, you brought it up.
She's so subtle at it. Yeah,
and she let Russell feel like he was controlling everything, you know. So maybe they could work together, but she's just feeding into his ego.
Yeah,
making him think
it's a good point. It's a good point. I like it, Mucky.
Yeah, and I guess just in terms of Parvati in general, right? You know, she's a massive name in Survivor, you know. Michelle, welcome to live. Really, Brendan? Michelle loves Rob. And I think Rob is better than that.
Hey, Michelle.
So Parvati's a huge name in Survivor. She has helped define what the show is, right? Massive inspiration to many different fans and even players of the show as well. She's almost referenced in pretty much every season. How far do you reckon she's going to go? Is she...
Well, she's definitely
merge?
No, I think she's definitely going to be post-merge. I just think that her social game is supreme to everybody else's out there. And I think that this is going to be her biggest advantage is, and she, like, this is her 5th time playing. So she can do this in her sleep. She's very good at reading people. And we could, although on Dondi, it wasn't, you know, there were times where she could have been a little bit more, but I think she's really good at reading the room and kind of identifying who those threats are going to be and who's going to be a threat against her and try and work to bring her down. I think that's one of her superpowers. What do you think her superpowers are, other than her social game?
I think it's like her strategic game. She's got a brilliant mind for the show, but that's also something like she's not like a strategic mastermind, but I think she fits in a category similar with Shani and with Luke as well, where they're very socially strategic. You get what I mean? Where their strategy is by pulling people around them, and you know they may not be the ones making the moves, but they're in control of everything moving forward.
That move, yeah,
exactly. Like you think of all of the alliances, like you know, with all the alliances Luke has had, all the alliances Shani and Parvati, even Sari's had. They're always the center point. Everyone is connected to them. Everyone's loosely connected to each other, but they're the primary, I guess, like player that holds everything together. So Yeah.
Do you know what and I think part of that is the art of negotiation. Like, she is so good at negotiating with people to get her way. Do you know what I mean? There are some people in this world that just have that super amazing ability to kind of speak to people in a way that makes them feel really like they're in charge, like they're in control, that they're the mastermind, but really she's and I think that kind of negotiation on a show like this, she's freaking brilliant at it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm very curious to know, Caroline, who is your winner pick? Your early days winner pick for the season?
I'm just going to go with my heart, and my heart is telling me Kirby. Like, she's my girl from Titans versus Rebels. I'm not going to, I think she is going to be so underestimated out there. Kirby is brilliant. She is a beautiful soul and a, brilliant strategist. She's so physically strong. She's so physically adept, and she's very good at observing and reading the room. I don't know, like, I can't go past her. She's my girl from Titans versus Rebels, and so I want her to win.
Yeah, my only worry for her is that she's kind of like the newest kid on the block.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And so I can see maybe that being like a easy target. But we saw throughout Titans versus Rebels, Kirby's a very adaptive player. She'll make a move and then she'll, sprint around to try and find her. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's so adaptive. And so is Parvati as well.
Yeah.
She's very adaptive to her surroundings and what she needs to do to survive. Do you reckon that they would link up and work well together?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if both those girls make merge, that out of actually everyone, like looking at the Australian tribe of females and looking at the world, I feel like that those two are going to be really drawn to each other. I think they will see a lot of similarities in each other. And I think that will work to both their advantage. And it will be interesting to see how honest they'll be with each other and how much how much of themselves they'll kind of let divulge to the other. But I would love nothing more than for those two to get together post merge. Or a tribe swap. Like, we don't know. Yeah. So either tribe swap or post merge and fucking fuck shit up.
100%.
Yeah. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. And I guess just before I read some final comments, any final remarks on Parvati for Australia versus the world? Like, anything else you want to say about it?
I just think that I'm just looking at all my notes here. Like, I think we've really talked about alliances pre-gaming. We haven't talked about pre-gaming, Mucky.
True.
Like,
true.
Who's going to be pre-gaming out there in terms of the US? I think that going back to talking about Parv and Sari, that will they be pre-gaming? Probably. Yeah. Like, if you can, you would, wouldn't you? So I think they'll be obviously working out, looking at who else is on their tribe, who else is on the Australian tribe, who they feel like they'll have things in common with, or who they can work with, more importantly, and looking at previous games. But I wonder whether, then do you think they're going to be pre-gaming with Tony? I don't think so.
I can see Parvati trying to work with Tony, like, as I said at the start of the podcast, I can see him maybe being like, he's another non-entity in the game, right? Because there are a lot of unknowns, right? And so you kind of know what Tony's like. He's won twice, he's played 2 great games twice, and he flunked it in Game Changers and in Traders. I don't know if you watched it as well, but
of course.
Oh, you did? Oh, awesome. Yeah. So basically everyone was targeting him straight out of the gate because he's the 2-time winner.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think when Tony's playing with a target on his back straight away, like, he doesn't really know how to move around the early game, but like the later the game goes on, the more he's like adaptive and willing to take more bigger risks than he is at the very start. So,
and if he was really smart, he would align himself with Parvati early.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I think, but it'll be interesting to see whether he aligns himself with the other US, like with the girls, or whether he aligns himself with the other bros on their tribe. So whether there's going to be a bros and girls, like, you know, it'll be interesting. Do you think he'll go bros or girls?
I think it's hard because I keep on thinking of players like Luke and David, for example, who are like very jokey kind of players. And I think Tony would also want to jump in on that bandwagon. Like that would be such a great fun trio.
But I'm talking about the world tribe. So before
the world tribe,
pre-merge, pre-tribe swap.
Yeah, well, I know that Gabe had brought up an interesting comment here where where was it? It was I can't find exactly, but I know that he had mentioned that how, you know, like Tommy's a massive fan of Tony.
Of Tony's.
Lisa's a massive fan of Parvati and Sari. So it won't be like everyone else against the Americans, or almost be like their own sort of separate factions starting to form, and it's who's willing to jump the gun first. And
sounds like it's going to be bros versus girls, to be honest.
Most likely. Yeah. I can see Rob not working with Tony because Tony's just so crazy and stuff. And Rob, he loves stability. He loves like control and like knowing what's going on, but you can never quite predict what's going to happen with Tony. So
it'd be interesting to see whether he does try to kind of stir shit up, because you know how he kind of runs off and he goes looking for idols really quickly, and he's like that, you know, like tries to create a bit of carnage and people chatting about him and whatever, and then he's like, dudes, cool it, like I'm not really looking for an idol. But and his spy shacks and like all that crazy stuff he does. So I mean, it'll be so cool to watch him if they do merge or make tribe swap, watching him with Luke and David together. I mean, that would be
TV gold.
Oh, it would be TV gold. Yes. Yes, it would.
Well, with it being such a short season, right? Because you've played Australian Survivor, and it's such a I hit my laptop. It's such a long game. Right,
27 days, baby.
Like how long is it between, I guess, like Tribal Council, the next immunity challenge, roughly?
Oh, from the immunity challenge to Tribal Council, do you mean?
Oh, I guess from like let's say from by the time you voted off Frankie to when you went to the immunity challenge before Jess went, what's the sort of time period?
Couple of days, 2 days.
2 days, yeah. And obviously this is like 16 days and 14 people.
Yeah, and it all depends on whether there's either an immunity challenge or a reward challenge. So if you're going, so if you've got, because you only do one challenge a day. So if you don't go to reward, then you don't go. If you don't go to tribal, on our season, we did a couple of reward challenges that they didn't even put on the show. So that was interesting. But they do. But it's usually either the next day or the day after, depending on whether we get a rest day or whether it's a reward, because it's usually a challenge day the next day.
Yeah, and with Australian Survivor being such a long day, long game, there's so much time to really sit, think, and that's where I feel like most social players do really well, is by having that time to really socially integrate themselves. But this whole season is going to be a sprint, right? So I can imagine Tony being like, you know what? It's 16 days. What if I sprint off and find the idol and play it straight away? He can maybe do it again. Similar thing with George. Why don't Parvati, like all the big challenge bees, why don't they just try and win everything? I know people try and strategize, I don't want to win this, just in case I'm seen as a threat. With it being such a short game, you might as well just sprint for it and go for it.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think with somebody like Parvati, she's better off in camp, like making those strategic alliances rather than running off and causing chaos by people watching her go off and try and find an idol. That's not her gameplay. She's sitting down at camp, she's talking to people, she's getting to know people, and that's going to be in a short game like this. I reckon that's got for Parv's game, and we're talking about Parvati, I think that's going to be her best strategies going to be keeping those people close, getting those people in and keeping them close.
Yeah, 100%. And just some comments I do want to read out. I think she's post-merge. The only way Parvati goes is if Lisa, the superfan, tries to get her out.
Yeah.
Lisa might want to have her out to have Cirie for herself. I mean, that's playing with fire, though, thinking you can try and have Cirie for yourself. Like, similar to George, she's always so many steps in front of you. You never quite know what's exactly going to happen. And Caroline, Gabe wants you to ask me how I think Cirie does this season.
So, Mucky, how do you think Cirie's going to do this season?
Well, I'm very glad you asked that, actually. Anyway, so Cirie, right? First time she played was taken out in Fireman Challenge. Second time she played, surprise Final 2 instead of Final 3. She's voted out at the Final 3. Heroes vs. Villains, she's idled out of the game.
Yeah.
Season 34, famously immunity trained out of the game. So many idols at one point, even before the new era came about. So what's something that Cirie hasn't done just yet that isn't just the ordinary? Get medically evacuated. So my hot prediction is that one of the most extreme physical challenges, maybe there's an individual challenge where you have to wrestle Jaden, right? You have to wrestle Jaden, you have to wrestle Rob and David at the same time. And that's how Cirie gets taken out. But it has to happen at like the very end, which is playing the most masterful game of all time.
But can I just tell you, like, out there, those challenge, like the people that do the challenges, they're going to be protecting these players. Like last season, obviously there were medical evacuations and all sorts of incidences last season, Brains versus Brawn 2. There is and they went straight from that season into this season. There is no way that the doctors out there and that the challenge, like the people that are in charge of the challenges, are going to let anyone hurt themselves on this season, because it'll put people off from coming in, hopefully in future seasons. So no. Mucky.
Well, with Squid Game just around the corner,
Cirie's not going to do a challenge to hurt herself. Like, I'm never going to do a challenge to hurt myself. Sorry, I love Survivor more than a lot of things, but I'm not going to break my body for Survivor, and I don't think Cirie is either.
Well, I don't think many people plan to get medically evacuated either, right? I think they go and they're like, oh yeah, I can do it, and then it just happens, right? So
I know, but remember when George and
and Jackie at the start.
Jackie, like that challenge. I've watched that challenge over. Like I've put it on repeat and watched it, and I've looked at it and gone, if I was out there, how would I be doing it? Because I was watching the others do it before them, blah, blah, blah. That was an awful challenge. And there's no way that they want anybody hurting themselves out there. So,
yeah. I mean, maybe that's one of the individual challenges. All right, hear me out. Australian Survivor, Australia vs. the World Squid Game. You have to go up against Kalen and try not to get injured. He accidentally injured Zen and PD as well. There's one common denominator. Maybe that's why Kalen won so much. He's
gorgeous.
He accidentally sent home all the big challenge guys. So
he did. Did you hear that on Pav's podcast? That lovely. She was talking about how when she went to play Australia versus the World, and we're each given like a Ziploc bag to put our stuff in, stuff in, and she turned her bag around, and on the back of it was Caelan.
Oh, really?
So she had Caelan's old bag, and what she said though was that that was her brother's name, and she lost her brother, I think in 2020. And so it was kind of like this kind of beautiful moment that she got this bag and it had Caelan on the back of it, and that was her brother's name, who she lost in 2020.
Maybe we'll see like a personal drive we haven't seen from Parvati in a while, because she's quite a spiritual person. And sometimes you just have those small things that's like, you know what, I'm going to kick some ass this game.
Is it a sign? Is it a sign? Because I love doing all that. I believe in all that as well. That anyway. That I thought that was a really lovely thing. So who's your winner pick, Mucky Hope?
Well, I'm not biased, but I actually really am. So my win pick is actually Luke Toki, the king of the jungle himself.
Yeah.
I think he's coming in with the most connections. I know that Gabe, you've brought up. Luke's got his whole gang here. He's got Sarah from season 2. He's got Janine and David. He's friends with Kirby. They work together in like the mines and stuff like that.
I had heard that too. Mm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows who Rob is as well, because I know Luke's a massive Survivor South Africa fan. So that's like 6 out of 14.
Yeah, wow.
You get what I mean?
So has he got more connections than anyone out there?
I'll have to do like a map, but my initial guess is yes. But even the one about Rob, I'm not entirely sure. It's just an assumption of he at least would know who Rob is, if that makes sense. Because I know he's friends with like chappies and stuff from South Africa as well. So yeah. And a couple of comments here that people made about Kirby that I'd love to ask you. So Kirby will have an advantage in that she won't be starstruck given how new she is to the Survivor world. Parvati spells won't work on it. And Gabe says, I do worry for Kirby being so brand new to Survivor. It's like being thrown into the Olympics after just winning your first sport event. Well, something that I compared Kirby to was actually Tony in Kaigian, where I felt like she would make a massive move. And every time I'm like, why would you do that? You're now like at massive risk. She always found a way to get straight back on top. Right. And do you think that's going to happen like twice in a row? Do you reckon like Kirby is like just going to be able to make it really far in the game, making big moves and then like scrambling her way?
I really hope so. Yeah. I really think she's very good at reading other people. I think if she, and as we know, if she makes it post-merge, like as far as an individual immunities, I am trying to remember how many she won on our season. I want to say 3 or 4. Like she was exceptional. Her physical ability and her, she's just extremely coordinated, like her hand-eye coordination, like some of those individual immunities that she won, stepping through the really fine squares to put the, using the tongs, putting the blocks on top of the blocks. Like her hand-eye coordination is amazing. So if she gets through to post-merge, she could do really well. I think that's another thing that Parvati does really well, though. I think physically speaking, she's got a really good physical, like if she's hanging on to something or if she's hanging on, do you know what I mean? Like, she's obviously shown us for endurance challenges that she's a freaking beast. So, yeah,
awesome. And just a couple final comments before we wrap things up. Sarah's going to break her finger and then get it back on start a rap there. And if Sarah gets taken out like that, we won't ever see any more Americans want to play here in the future. See? Well, that's a message from her brother. Yeah, I reckon. A spiritual message. Almost.
She's not going to want to hurt herself. No, she's not going to put us like. She's not going to put any threat on herself at all to hurt herself. It's not worth it.
And one final amazing comment here from Gabe. Parvati versus Kirby in a challenge. Who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for my girl Curbs.
Come on, Gabe. It's Curbs all the way,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Caroline, that does bring us to the end of the podcast. Where can people find you? Are you up to anything cool and exciting at the moment?
I'm on Insta. So at Caroline Mummalicious, or just find me Caroline Courtis. You'll find me. You'll find me easy. Just Google me. You'll find me.
Awesome.
But how about you, Mucky?
Oh well, just Mucky Hope. I'm not up to much.
I'm sitting in
one Mucky
with a beanie on. It's so freaking cold here at the moment. We're having a cold spell down the East Coast, and wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cold in New Zealand too. Like,
is it?
Like just hit New Zealand, but my apartment gets so hot so quickly. I'm like, my face is going red, as you can tell. Like just from wearing a jumper.
What was the temp today?
Oh, I've got no clue. Let me have a quick look. So just give me a quick sec. I know that I know that every time I'm like, oh my god, it's so hot in New Zealand, I can't handle it. Tom, who also lives in Brisbane, is like, Mucky, 20 degrees is nothing, okay? And he's like telling me it's like 40 degrees and stuff. Oh my gosh, I'd actually die.
Gets pretty hot here in summer.
It's 16 degrees Celsius.
What is it here?
What should be like 5
It's 13.
or something?
It's 13 here at the moment.
Oh, okay. So I'm just being a drama queen. Like, oh my God, it's a little bit cold. It's the end of the world. But you're here. actually freezing. So.
Yeah, I'm freezing. Hence the beanie and my Uggies on. Tonight was great. I hope you got. We chatted out Parv. I think she's going to do amazing. I'm really excited to see her play this game. I think, like all of you out there, I'm way more excited about this particular season than I am about season 50. That's a whole other podcast. But this is like an absolute ballser of a season for us to look forward to watching sometime this year. We don't know when, do we?
Yeah. And like, I guess it's a thing on Parv for me, you know, I've always wanted, every Survivor fan has always wanted a season like this, right? And I know that when it first sort of got introduced as an idea, I was sort of worried that it would end up similar to season 50 cast, where it's like, it's a couple big names, but not really big names, you get what I mean? But for me, I always wanted to see the best of the best go out there. And even though it's such a short cast and such a, you know, small season, I'm very grateful for who we do have out there, you know, like Parvati.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be hard, fast, but it's going to be really, really exciting. I can't wait to see how they've filmed it, like, and how it actually really plays out, and how many, like, you know, they're obviously going to be eliminating somebody nearly every day.
Yeah. So, like, I would honestly pay for a live feed. Yeah. You know, I don't watch Big Brother, but like, put on a live feed for the season, and I will quit my job and watch it. Michelle here says August. Yeah, she stormed up Channel 10, pitchfork, torch in hand.
Tell us.
Give us a month. Exactly.
We need to know.
August. And the only ones that are surprising are the non-English series got represented, which is nice. Yeah, 100%. And
couldn't agree more, Gabe. So good. And some of the, you know, to have Finland represented, to have South Africa, like Quebec. When I was in New York last year for 47 finale, I got to meet 5 of them from Quebec, not Cassandra. And they were gorgeous. They were like, I'm still in touch with all of them. Like, they're just awesome. So really gorgeous people, and they love Survivor. Like, they absolutely love it.
And even about the non-English speaking players as well. It's like,
they
aren't just randoms. Like, you know, everything I've read about both of them, it's like, wow, they're bloody phenomenal players. Yeah. And so I just can't wait to see what they're going to bring in a season like this. And good that they got some love. Absolutely. But Caroline, if you want to give some love, smash that subscribe button. Subscribe for some cheeky naughty times, everyone. We just recently hit the big 130. Thank you all so much for the amazing support. Make sure you like and comment who you think is going to win this season. And what's your thoughts on Parvati? Is she post-merge? Is she an early boot? Is she even your winner pick? Let us know down in the comments below. But until next time, everyone, I'm your host, Mucky Hope, Ka kite anō, and I'll catch you all with the next player breakdown. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys. Bye.